these talks is about reflecting your own practice and kind of considering your journey and where you are now. And I'm still obviously in the very beginnings of that journey. But it's nice to look back and realise that I was always interested in certain things like transformation and materials and process and surface in so many ways, in so many deep-wrenched ways. I mean, in terms of not just the work itself, but in terms of like zeitgeist arts projects, what we want to do is transform experiences that artists have into positive experiences and transform space. And so I'm going to talk a lot about that and a little bit of background. I did study textile design at Chelsea, and then went on straight to the Royal College of Art to do mixed media. I did textiles because I was led to believe it would be a more economic way of sustaining a practice. Everything I did in textiles wasn't, and all I really wanted to do was paint. So I kind of left that behind sort of for a couple of years after leaving the Royal College of Art, and I always wanted to paint. But I'll tell you a little bit about that and how I sustain my practice. I'm not really going to talk about finance stuff or that sort of thing because I give a lot of lectures with zeitgeists and various other universities about those things. About you can feel free to ask me afterwards or at the end or something. But I do lots of jobs. I have a lot of jobs. I teach across the country and I do consultancy on strange things like even buildings now and social media. And communication is basically all part of that. Annabelle. My remote control, Annabelle. So this is right at the beginning at Chelsea. I was very interested in the transformation of very ordinary things into extraordinary things, from making something that was very man-made into something that was very organic. So this is monofilament, which is fishing wire, that I spent a long time kind of dyeing. Each of these were dyed individually, as well as the sequins were sort of screen printed, and sort of playing with the idea of light and movement. And it was very, very process-based. Is that? Is that? And that was sort of my second year project at Chelsea, and then I went on to do this at Chelsea, which was it was a 6-month based research project, which was exploring qualities of latex, which is normally a very disgusting, smelly thing. If you've ever seen any work by Eva Hess, then you'd know. And so my idea was to make it into something that was very beautiful and ethereal and fragile, instead of something that was really solid and rubbery. And in the end, I made a series of works. You can kind of see that. It took a long time to get to this place where the latex would stay, and I had to design the print, which was from the butterflies. I went and collected some dead butterflies from the butterfly house in Simon House, and it took months, and I drew this lace on top of the chiffon, organza rather, and then every single one of these holes was soldered out. So it was about, I don't know, a month a piece, basically. And the process of making very time-consuming pieces has remained, unfortunately. Although I have gotten a lot quicker recently. But yeah, it was all about the transformation, and it was also about these dead butterflies that were really, really fragile. But when I picked them up in my hand, they were really incredibly strong. And I was fascinated by the way that they were constructed, and the way that they were imperfect, but just so absolutely perfect. And in a very lovely way, this work has been on tour for 9 years in various shapes and formats that you'll see a little bit of soon. Is that Annabelle? Thank you. And so that was a kind of final installation. So I'm afraid not amazing shots, but I did dresses, elongated dresses, not wearable dresses, even though I managed to cram my sister into that. Luckily she's not here to see this. But I managed to cram her in that. And basically I went on to Royal College of Art because I'd just begun this conversation that I wanted to continue about textiles and possibilities of it and experimenting. And luckily and happily I got in a very small group of people. There were like 7 of us in our particular department, and went on from there really. This was one of my first, it's funny, like it's such a sort of step up doing an MA as well, and knowing where the hell to go with it. And all of my work has always used a lot of photography and painting, This was just a kind of collage of the London Eye, which turned out to be that. She's loved Tootsie as well. It ended up being earrings. Well, actually, it was just sculptures, and then because it was fashion and textiles, you had to make it to a product. And this is something I ended up being caught up in after I left college, is sort of developing a fashion and textiles and accessories business. I wasn't really interested in it, and so it wasn't very successful, particularly. And also, I set up business with my sister, who was the bit of a flake. I kind of ditched that, but it did get some nice press in the Evening Standard, and this woman, Natalie Press, was a bit of an ambassador for us. Next slide, please. But this is what I was actually doing at Royal College. Is that I was really lost there. I found it frustrating, the simplicities of being in the fashion and textile design department, and that you couldn't really work on a conceptual level, that it wasn't that interesting to them. I was in a problematic space, and they were trying to be really understanding. And I went on these trips to Prague and Budapest and walked around a lot to, this is over in North Greenwich actually. And I realised I was fascinated by buildings, empty buildings, desolate places. I guess that can be quite common really, but I was just beginning to understand, well, it's taken me years to understand, but why I was interested in these spaces. This is Loveless, and it's on silk. And so this is something that I was doing at Royal College, and I started to play with what I could paint on, the possibilities. And by the time I graduated, I had a painting show, and that was interesting in the textiles department. But I started playing around with print, which you'll see obviously more. You may know already about that work.